So I went to a city council meeting last night to talk to the city council about. Riley, can you scoot a little closer to me? We're on the same camera.
Yeah, I got the old. There we go. Okay,
no, this way. Come my way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice and cozy.
He was sitting further away from you for a reason. Okay? Nick's been on the onion diet. It's just the onion cleanse.
Dude, I was so self-conscious about my breath this morning. I had to sit real close to this lady at a meeting. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I was at a city council.
How do you talk when you're self-conscious about your breath?
Like this.
The old hand covering the mouth. Yeah.
Just got to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah, I think I got a really good idea.
There was, I think the only time I smelled Kent was we were hiking at Luss Hills. We were hiking at the Luss Hills.
Okay, yeah.
And then we had to get back in the truck together.
Yeah.
And it was really humid, and then we had to
I was soaked in sweat.
Yeah. Well, that was the only time. You're not like a smelly guy. You smelled when humans should smell. So I don't know about Riley. Riley's current office smells like cat pee.
Yeah. The cat got in there and did his due diligence.
So. Yeah. Well, that's what he says. That's what I haven't seen the cat in there. Might just be Riley.
It was nice until this morning.
Okay, rank this because we have experienced all of these smells in the shop: cat pee, coon pee, or rat pee. We'll say rat/mouse. I think they're similar enough. Although I think when you really smell rat pee, you can tell a little bit of a difference. But
rat and mouse pee.
That worry me. Hantavirus.
Yeah. More worrying. No, I think
been in the news again.
No, I want to because I think this is going to come up in the news soon. I went to the city council meeting, and not that I went, but that it's starting to get talked about to bring up e-scooters, kids on e-scooters, because there are in our town. Now, I am all for these kids.
Nick is fighting for regulation. I love it.
I am all for these kids using the fullness of their freedom. But they don't have a prefrontal cortex that is at all developed, and they're going 25 mile an hour on the road, no helmet, no turn signals, no daylight or nighttime restrictions. They can just be on there, no reflectors on a lot of these things. And my wife and I were walking down the street, and when I'm running, I see them all the time. And I was asking a parent who picks up a kid at the elementary school, and they say, when elementary school is out, boom, there's 100 of these little kids zipping out around town to get back home. I think that's awesome. It's really
elementary school
kids. Yeah, not middle school.
Wow.
And I think that it's really cool. It's a cheap way to get around.
I thought good parenting was to just give your kid the set of knives and the shotgun, and they'll figure it out, and they'll turn out to be a good kid, well-adjusted.
I do think that these kids should be allowed to get to and from school on these little e-scooters. And I even told the city council, I am not fighting for you to take away their freedom to do this. There is going to be, with the frequency of speed, how many of the kids there are on the road and how many interactions they have with cars, somebody will be in the news, and it'll be a tragic accident. I just don't want it to be Knoxville. And
so you argued that the news not be allowed to report on such a fatality, right?
No. And I told them I don't have a big enough brain to figure out what needs to happen, but if we looked into helmets or restricting it to certain streets streets where we know cars are going very slowly, not the major highways or roads that are going through Knoxville, I think that would be a smart move. And I just want to if a 27-year-old dies on an e-scooter, that is that 27-year-old's fault. If someone who we don't allow to buy alcohol because they can't make good decisions yet dies on an e-scooter, that's probably the decision makers, which is i.e. us, the adults. That's probably our fault, right? And so
Nick's arguing all the way up to 20 years old, you got to wear a helmet.
Am I arguing? You know what? I didn't know that Iowa, you didn't have to wear a helmet on your motorcycle.
Yeah, one of the few states, I think.
Actually embarrassed myself in the meeting.
I think you have to, if you don't have a helmet, don't most states have a rule where you have to wear eyewear or something like that so that you don't get a bug in your eye and then wreck and cause somebody else
That's a great question. I don't know.
No one knows the unfortunateness of driving down the road and get hit in the face with a grasshopper.
Yeah.
That's its own tragedy.
It's painful.
Yeah, it hurts.
But anyway, it was interesting, and they were supportive, and there are more and more e-scooters on the road every single summer, right? And we're coming up to a big, long, hot summer, and school's about to be out. And
are these privately owned e-scooters, or because I know a lot of communities used to have like the
Bird or Lime or whatever that was like a fad. Those businesses they 10x'd in 2 years, and now they're a fraction of what they used to be. A lot more people they're like $200 or $300.
They're buying their 7-year-old a 25-mile-an-hour machine.
Yep.
And saying get to school and back.
Yeah. And to have a moped, you have to have a license. You have to go through training. You know, it just doesn't make sense on the frequency of how many people could die. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm all for kids riding around and getting hurt. I'm serious. I'm all for as big of messes as we can clean up, but you can't come back from a traumatic brain injury, and you can't come back from a death. And so we can't clean up those messes. So I want to restrict those. Mm-hmm. Kent's smiling away.
I'm just, we could go down so many roads, but it would just be a long, long fight between you and me for the rest
regulation.
I'm all for sensible regulation.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
Kent. Well, he didn't have a lot of fun when he was a kid, and he wants to make sure that everybody else is.
I could have used some more regulation when I was a kid.
Oh man. Well, we got a big long topic. We should get started. Coffee Time Wednesdays with the Prairie Farm Podcast.
Can't hit us with the jingle.
Do-do-do-do-do.
A lot of companies talk about conservation, but I want to tell you about a company that actually puts their money where their mouth is. birdhuntersupply.com is a great company. I know the owner, Joe. He's a great dude. We've had the privilege of working with him, and let's just say he really puts his money where his mouth is. A large percentage of his profits from Bird Hunter Supply go to a conservation organization of your choice at checkout. So your purchase actually puts money towards conservation, and it's not just a roundup. It's not just asking you to donate on top of your purchase. This is included with your purchase. This man is running his very own small business version of Pittman Robertson, except without all the government stuff. I'm a big fan of that. So whether you're buying hunting apparel, decoys, dog training gear, you are actually going to be giving back to conservation. That is my friend Joe at birdhuntersupply.com. We love that company. We love what they have going on. Oh, and they do a really great job with their website. Makes it very easy. birdhuntersupply.com. Welcome back to the Prairie Farm Podcast, Coffee Time Wednesday. I'm your favorite host, Nicholas Lirio, with your favorite co-host,
Howdy, howdy.
Ken Boucher.
Stole it, Riley. You got to come up with a new
one. And your favorite co-host to the co-host, Riley Rosendahl.
Greetings.
I was hoping for a howdy, good neighbor.
Greetings was the best I could come up with on the fly. I heard
I'm
howdy.
I got
seasonal salutations.
Well, you saw the heading of this one. You know that we're talking about commodity prices, but there are some major things going on with the commodity prices, some of which everybody knows, some of which we don't, and we want to talk about them. First, Trump goes to China, does a bunch of stuff, but the big
I
thing...
thought you were just going to stop there with Trump.
Trump.
You wanted to lose a bunch of listeners and gain a whole new class of listeners.
Oh, man. He goes to China, and I think he's the president that's been to China the most, if you count between the two terms. But I believe this is his first time in this term, and he brought with him a slew of CEOs. And the idea is that China sells a bunch of stuff to us. No one's allowed to sell basically anything to China. And China, in a very small amount of time, has become the dominant economic power of the world. And so Trump went as a salesperson with all of the best salespeople in the United States, and one of which is the CEO of a little company we call Cargill. Does anybody know where Cargill ranks among the wealthiest private-owned company?
Number one.
It is number one, and it has been number one for a long time. CEO Brian...
You find that information in the book Barron's.
Yeah, they're no joke in terms of
a lot of things.
Yeah. The health of Americans and our livers. The CEO Brian Sykes, he went, and the idea, right, is that they used to buy a ton of soybeans. Maybe even we could sell them a little more corn than we've sold them in the past. And I totally understand there was lip service given that from President Xi that they would buy more of our agricultural outputs. But here's the thing. If you look at China's economic market, they have very low prices on pork, which high prices on pork would usually demand for more food for pork because they want to get more. So that's not good for that. They have tons of infrastructure and actual contractual obligations to Brazil on buying out their soybeans. And there was one other thing that basically economically would imply they probably aren't going to buy a bunch of our soybeans. There was an uptick in soybean future sales for next year because of this, but I don't know how much it'll actually come to fruition.
Yeah, it's based on projection and not concrete.
Yeah,
this is for sure happening.
They could end up buying some of our pork. There are other agricultural things, but when he said agriculture, everybody was thinking soybeans, but maybe President Xi was purposefully not saying soybeans because he didn't want to back himself into a corner and buy something that they couldn't actually use for a profit. And if they were going to buy it, they'd maybe buy it so cheap we don't even want to sell it to them at those prices.
Well, why would they buy soybeans from us when they can buy beans from South America for cheaper?
Yep.
They'll buy their 25 million bushel, whatever they, agree to buy, and why not?
And just to show our economic strategy in the past, in 2016, right before we did the first tariff war, we were roughly 40% of their soybean usage came from us.
Wow.
Yep. 2024, we were at 20%. 2025 was at 15%. And the only reason we were so high in 22, 23, 24 is because Brazil was having drought issues, or South America was having drought issues. So they weren't producing as much. And so they got a bunch from us. But now Brazil's had plenty of rain. They've got a lot of soybeans. The infrastructure is built. The ports are built out. So are we actually going to see soybeans there? I don't know. It's a pretty nuanced issue. But the point is President Trump took out or used his big guns, bringing the CEO of America's greatest monopoly to China to talk to China, which is also, well, they're the king of being a monopoly. And, one monopoly to another, they were able to chat about it.
From one monopoly to another.
Sounds like an ad slogan.
We both understand this.
Allow me to hold the door for you, sir.
There was a guy who
owe me.
He was the scapegoat for Cargill on a giant collusion thing. Went to jail for years, and now he's really open about his story. I cannot remember that guy's name. But basically, they would ship him to China, and he would sit in a room with literally like 4 other people that produce some of the things and they would have collusion conversations about how they're going to price stuff, price fixing.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and dandy. Well, his wife, they were just like giving him houses and cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It didn't always show up in his paycheck. And his wife finally figured it out. And she was the one who said, "You're going to turn yourself in the FBI today because I'm going to call him tomorrow to make sure that you did it."
Wow.
Yep. And he did. He went to jail. He was Cargill's scapegoat, and I don't even know if they got fined for that, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy. You would think that we would break it up. I don't even know, because Google almost got broken up. And then the judge was like, well, 2 years ago I would have broken you up, but AI is a real threat to your business, so we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah.
How is Cargill not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, does that have to do with the fact that they're a private company and not a publicly traded company?
No, 'cause Rockefeller, which basically defined
That's
what
true,
we
yeah.
consider was private.
Well, antitrust has just been not enforced since like the 50s. It's just, these businesses get too big to fail, and no one walks in to break them up.
Man. Yeah, so I guess the question is, was China just giving like a political gesture?
What is this new Nicholas? I mean, you got these new line of shorts. Now, first of all, you're arguing for safety regulation. Now you're arguing for billionaire herding regulation, regulating billionaires.
He's turned over a new leaf.
No. You know what this country needs? Less billionaires and more 100 millionaires. That's all I'm hearing you say right now.
I have this debate in my brain all because it's one I never like hating on a group of people. It's just I'm gonna find myself defending that group of people.
Sure.
But the truth is like they provide a lot of jobs and they provide a lot of high-end jobs for people. But at the same time, they've amassed an unbelievable amount of wealth. And now I would also say there's a big difference between someone who on paper is worth $1 billion because they privately own a company that's worth $1 billion, like Vermeer, that's worth over $1 billion, the family. And they're worth that's like a $15 billion company and they privately own it. And like Amazon, it's worth trillions of dollars and I don't know how many storefronts they put out of business, but we can blame Bezos all we want. The truth is we're too lazy or don't want to spend the extra money.
Yeah, I think it's fine to point out the failings of entities when they have truly failed and it's hurt others. And I think it even should be pointed out. After we're done pointing that out, though, we need to do some soul searching and say, okay, how am I complicit in this happening in my own small way? And until we are willing to do that and then make changes based off of that, you can just count on it getting the spiral we're in. You can count on it to continue spiraling.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here a little bit. You guys are getting a little too cozy with the billionaires. I think that being a billionaire is not wrong in itself, but I think if you're not effectively taxed,
I'm not willing to make that statement there. I'm not.
Okay.
So if you think I'm cozy with billionaires, I'm not willing to say I objectively know in my heart of hearts that it is not wrong to be a billionaire. I'm not saying that I think it is. I've asked myself that question many, many, many times and spent many hours thinking on it, and I just can't get there.
That's just so silly because where's that's so arbitrary. Like the number billionaire,
which is probably why I can't get there. But I can't get to either side. I'm saying after spending
that's fair
a large amount of time.
What were you saying, Riley?
I was just saying the problem for me isn't. I understand that billionaires become billionaires because of the choices of many. However, if they're not paying their fair share. Look at cases like lots of large companies. I'm not going to name them for good legal reasons. HR is on the task here. But there are a lot of companies that either move their headquarters or claim profit streams in other countries so they can avoid paying taxes here. And if you're going to benefit from Americans, you should pay into the pot like everybody else. And in a meaningful rate. If I'm going to pay 20% tax on my income, why does a billionaire company, pay 5%? That's always been my question.
5%.
Wow, we're finally gonna have a Nick and Riley fight.
Here we go. These numbers are fuzzy. I'm not saying, but
100% agree. Like, I 100% agree that there are billionaires who take more than they give.
Yeah.
I just absolutely think there are billionaires who have given more to the world than they take. In the form of jobs, taxes, philanthropy, some invention that they made that furthered the world. Like the guy who's a billionaire who invented Ethernet, the Ethernet cables. You know what I mean?
This sounds like it's too nuanced of a topic for us to tackle and still get your topic.
I feel like we could probably solve it
I'm
today.
staying out of it. I'd still remain unconvinced either way.
All right. So that's soybeans. Let's talk about corn. This one's actually kind of nuanced as well. The House just passed the E15 bill. We call it the E15 bill. It's actually an SRE bill, which is small,
small refinery exemption.
Thank you. But it's from, their argument was the Nationwide Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act. And so the idea is that the small refinery exemption act would allow for more E15 to get out on the market, right? And would allow for people who are driving to use it. Now, I don't know this exactly. I know that unleaded is my understanding is it's worse for engines and motors, but better for fuel efficiency. Is that how that goes? Unleaded
versus leaded gas?
Yeah. Or super unleaded or...
I don't remember, and I don't know that I ever learned why they used to include lead and gas. I do know that there was significant human health impacts that we now are aware of that came from the use of leaded fuel. So,
well, but I guess
I don't know performance-wise which one was better.
Interesting. Well, the futures, the speculation was that if this was to come to fruition and the Senate would still have to sign or still have to pass it and the president would have to sign, but
wait, are you back to the leaded versus unleaded? Are you saying ethanol free unleaded gas versus ethanol included unleaded gas? Oh, yeah. I believe ethanol free unleaded gas is better for like your engine fuel system components.
But I think ethanol helps with your fuel efficiency.
It burns hotter. It burns hotter than gas.
Okay.
So unleaded or ethanol and non-ethanol fuel, let's just say it that way. Non-ethanol fuel is better for like small engines. Like your lawnmowers, weed whackers. Lots of the manufacturers of those engines recommend that you use unleaded.
It leaves like a
non-ethanol fuel.
It can leave a residue, but I think more modern engines that have only existed in the ethanol era,
I believe it's 2001 or 2003 beyond.
Yeah, it could be. They I think have engineered their fuel system components to be able to be more compatible. But like my truck, which is old, all my vehicles are old. It is an 06, and when I first got it, which was used, within I don't know 5 or 6 months, my injectors on my truck were getting plugged up, and I ended up having like a significant issue from it. I had to get my injectors all cleaned and everything like that. And the mechanic told me, he's like, hey, don't use ethanol anymore. That's part of your problem.
At Hoxie Native Seeds, our mission is to provide native seed and education for landowners and land managers that care about their ground. So the education, we're doing that through the podcast and interviewing experts and the stuff we put out through our website. But the native seed that we provide, whether we grew it or we work with other producers that grew it, we are here to provide that for you. It's what keeps the lights on for us, and it's what we love to do. Most of our seeds grown right here on our farm, HoxieNativeSeeds.com. Oh, and if you need a little help with consultation, not sure what to put on your ground, we would be happy to help you with that as well. Give us a call, HoxieNativeSeeds.com. Well, biofuel has biomass to it. You know, and that would collect, right? Isn't that an issue?
Well, technically all fuel comes, I mean, it's fossil fuel, right? It's oil produced by decaying matter. And so it theoretically all is related to that. But yeah, just a byproduct of, you know, that type of alcohol, ethanol, leaves that residue in the engine. Well, in the fuel system components, part of the engine. From my understanding, I'm not by any way an expert mechanic, but you know who is that we should have answering this.
We're gonna have Alex on the podcast.
He could be here at any minute. I don't know. He's coming in today,
dude. Here's the deal. Here's the deal with cars. It's not that I just don't understand cars.
Hey, he just called me. Should we call him and put him on speaker?
No.
Okay. Tell us the difference between lead and...
We'll have it. I want him on his own pod. We're planning on having it. He is quite literally the best mechanic I've ever.
Yeah, you guys are going to get to meet a guy who's going to be a lot of fun, who's going to be a part of our team.
But the thing with cars with me is not that like I don't understand them, which I don't. I can't muster the energy to care enough to pay attention when people start talking about them. You know, I'm immediately, my brain goes to autopilot. I go, wow, yeah, that's amazing.
His eyes glaze over.
Yeah. There's just a few things like that. Okay, well, by the mid 2030s, they are expecting to have a consistent 14 or 15 cent increase on average to the price of corn if we would pass this E15 all the way through. But those same SRE, those same small refinery exemptions would negatively affect soybean prices by roughly 38 to 40 cents per bushel. Now, obviously, you get less than half of the bushels of soybeans, but it's like a tiny boost, maybe a net negative in the overall margins for farmers.
Wow.
Yeah. So it seems like
Which should be interesting to see how that would affect crop rotation, because right now, almost everywhere, you could set your watch to it, right? They got corn on those acres this year. It will be soybeans next year.
Is it 2 corn, 1 soybean? Is that normal rotation?
No, usually
it's every other.
It's every other year.
Every other. Interesting.
Yeah.
But how come? Well, I guess there's just way more bushels.
Some guys do it differently than that.
Some guys can do corn on corn if they have enough hog manure or fertilizer they can access. I guess you could say exceptions for every rotation.
Interesting.
Which would be interesting then, if more guys are growing corn on corn, what happens to the amount of nitrogen that's being applied to the soil?
We're about to talk about nitrogen, but first I should say that in terms of how much corn was planted, how much we expect to grow, we're down 6%, which is a ton, literally like 1 billion tons of corn, and the price is supposed to be at $4.40 per bushel this fall on average. That's all projection. Who the heck knows? Now, let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Something I don't know that much about, but it is heavily affecting fertilizer prices
and fuel prices.
Fuel prices, yes. The World Bank reported that the fertilizer price index rose more than 12% quarter over quarter in Q1 of 2026, directly relating to the Strait of Hormuz is the primary pusher of that.
12% increase.
Yep, and it's not straightforward like, we can't get the fertilizer around. It's like, the fuel is more expensive that shuttles the fertilizer around, right? So the price is at $850 per metric ton in April, which is up 80% since February.
Whoa.
Yeah. That is not fertilizer. That's specifically urea.
Okay.
For the fertilizer. And it should be stated that fertilizer increase prices are not across the board in the world, right? Because there's different places where they get fertilizer. So that just created an average upswing. But some places are going to quadruple in price, and some places might go up 50% in price, right? Now, that I don't know enough about the Strait of Hormuz, and I really don't want to get into the Strait of Hormuz too much. But before we go on, you guys got any other thoughts on that?
Well, so my understanding, and we probably should talk a little bit about the Strait of Hormuz. My understanding is until the companies that insure the shipping vessels are convinced that the boats that they are covering with their insurance aren't going to have a war-related hazard. Doesn't matter what treaty gets signed. Doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but I mean, until they are convinced that those hazards that could literally ruin their company by having a whole bunch of claims on very expensive, entities, right?
Yeah.
Then no insured vessel is going to be working through the strait, right?
That is exactly right. It's the insurance companies unwilling to insure.
So it's not directly influenced, it's not directly controlled by a treaty. It's not directly controlled by a ceasefire. It's not direct. If they perceive that, you aren't fighting anymore, but there's all these mines left out there that we can't chart out.
Yep.
And until all of that is, all the anxiety there is put at ease, no insured vessel can get through, right?
Yes, that is my understanding. And I listened to,
without the shipping company taking on the risk themselves.
Yes,
for themselves.
and that would put that ship. They can't take that risk. No one can take that risk. I heard, and I cannot remember who. It was like a reporter, maybe for the New York Times or someone that went to the Strait of Hormuz to see how passable it actually was and tried to get across. And they were like, it is passable, but basically it's through an interconnecting of bribes that it takes to get through there. And the bribes are becoming so
so there's no like, we're gonna kind of sneak our way through here. You're hitting checkpoints with people that could sink your boat that are.
I don't remember that part. I just remember him saying like, "Hey, the bribes are becoming part of the infrastructure."
Yeah,
Like
$2 million a ship, I believe, was the going rate. Yeah,
crazy.
And Iran is the one collecting those bribes?
I have no idea.
I
The
thought it was-
Iran kind of has a government, but not really.
I was under the impression it was the government from what I'd seen on the news, but I
Okay.
don't feel comfortable enough to cite a specific source or reporter.
And I think it's important to lay that out because, when you're going to so my truck that I cannot get ethanol fuel in, I pay currently $5.29 a gallon for that fuel. And I can't expect that, the war is over. Now gas will be significantly cheaper. It'll be back to what it was pre-war, within a week or two. That's not necessarily true, right? Because it has to be all fallout from that war the insurance companies have to be feeling convinced that yes, that is all cleaned up or clear to go.
Tangible, provable piece.
Well, that could take a long time.
And the only reason that gas prices were down around $2 was that we had a global surplus. If you look at production numbers, I can't remember exactly how many barrels it was, but it was like 1.5 million barrels a day of surplus. We were producing enough, price was low, but now there's so much demand and your production and your transport is so screwed up that even if tomorrow there was an official deal and the insurance companies all get together and kumbaya, we can send all the ships through, it's still going to take time. You've got to get production back going at full capacity, and you've got to get these ships moved. You got to get this oil all over the world. And it's not just there's not just like a pipeline like, we shut off the valve, we'll just turn it back on.
I wonder about the oil companies that are, pulling it out of the Gulf of Mexico or something, and like they're probably making a killing. Like I bet there are oil companies that are so excited that, the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, but even still, like remember when I would relate it to when James from Iowa Cover Crop, I've thought about this so many times since he said it. He's like, let's say everybody wanted to restore all the prairie to what it was. You don't have the seed in the world to do that.
Yeah.
And the same is true. Like, even if you could be like, well, we have the world's demand waiting at our doorstep. Do you have all the permits you need? Do you have all the infrastructure, the employees, to man I got to imagine that that's still a pretty slow process to pivot to for those companies that aren't directly affected by the Strait of Hormuz for their own shipping.
Yeah, I wonder if this will be a nail in the coffin for pushing a bunch more nuclear through, or some other energy source through, but I don't know. The truth is we don't know that much about the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, well, and remember the food crisis we had during COVID shutdowns? Have things really changed that much from what they were beforehand? No. We saw, this is a vulnerable system. Oh, okay, back to business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I think that was because we are in a country and in a place where we have so much surplus.
True,
like we have so many extra calories thrown our way that even if we lost half the calories thrown our way,
it turns out we've been turning those calories into fuel in vehicles.
All right, last thing having to do with global food market and, of course, commodity. El Niño. I don't know if you guys remember this.
That's how long we've been doing this podcast. We're on to our next El Nino.
The last time we talked about this was almost 4 years ago when El Nino had started.
Peyton's topic, I remember.
El Nino.
And now, because I looked into it because I'd never heard of it before. Well, here's the deal with El Nino. It at its core, it has to do with, I looked this up to make sure this is right, it has to do with the temperature of the ocean.
Yeah.
And so because the temperature of the ocean is higher than El Nino, there's more energy, which means there's more strong weather events.
Yeah, the heat from the warmer ocean temps affects the atmosphere around it.
Yeah. And I heard it said on a podcast basically that the ocean is the Earth's battery, and during an El Nino, the battery has more energy in it, right? And so here's the deal. They're expecting to see the ocean at 4 degrees warmer than they've seen it since recording for an El Nino.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Oh, great question. I think it was Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
I hope so.
It was an American.
Yeah, it better be Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But buy ice caps.
Yeah.
And so that will affect the United States. Here's some of the things that will happen across the world because of an El Nino this hot. India and Southeast Asia, weaker monsoons. A lot of their foods depend on the
monsoon season.
Exactly. A lot more heat and a fertilizer shortage risk kind of coming together, which creates huge insecurity in Southeast Asia, which is already some of the more poor, probably second poorest region in the world next to Central Africa. And so food insecurity going on there. Brazil and Argentina, they would actually, the soybeans would benefit for like in terms of their growth from it, but a lot of their logistics and getting their fertilizer to them would actually, so their margins would be cut, but that would affect our soybean price if we had an issue with it. Now, a good thing is on the West Coast, we would have less hurricanes going on. Or I'm sorry, on the East Coast.
I was going to say, what did they had hurricanes over
sorry,
there?
on the East Coast, like in Florida, they should have less hurricanes, which is weird to me. But the El Nino affects things like tornadoes in the Midwest, right? There's a lot of other factors, but they affect these great climatic events across the whole world. And so if we all of a sudden start having food shortages, actually we're seeing something similar in the native seed industry. We have shortages on specific species in the whole industry. And so because of that, well, right now, Illinois bundle flour. If you ever bought Illinois bundle flour from us in the past, or retail price, like at the top price, you're talking $12. Well, right now we're buying it wholesale for like $45, right? And so I think retail right now we're charging like $60 or $65. Like that. So what do? We have less Illinois bundle flour and we replace it with other forbs that hopefully act similarly, have similar benefits. And the nice thing about Illinois bundle flour is it's a legume and whitetail love it, right? So we have to add other legumes or other plants that whitetail love to kind of replace that. Oh, and it's shorter. So, we're trying to balance it out. But that puts pressure on, like partridge pea would be one we'd replace it with. Well, that puts pressure on the supply of partridge pea. So my point is, if there are fruit risks in Southeast Asia, if there are rice or other sort of carb risk for wheat, in Southeast Asia, they got to replace it with other things, either from other global food chains, or maybe they're bringing in more fish, and so they're exporting less fish. And so as a whole, it kind of balances out where food just costs more, right? And this is supposed to be the warmest El Nino that we've ever had. So the climactic.
So is this the full like worst case scenario prediction of this particular El Nino event that is projected, or is this like, no, we can expect all of this to happen?
Yeah. So El Nino always puts greater pressure on food.
We have
food
that.
Supply
We
chain.
have that.
That
data.
is, yep. That's consistent. But
I've never heard that. That's interesting.
We normally have a little more infrastructure to handle it, but right now the fertilizer and the urea that is shipping across the world isn't really getting there, and we're already having supply chain issues on the food. So you put all those things together, is that going to affect us? Well, our eggs might be $7, but we're not going to be starving. Whereas there are rural communities in Southeastern Asia that could literally be starving because of this. So it's a big deal. But yeah, that's a food commodity update. There was a lot of stuff getting thrown, and I either read I found stuff on Facebook talking about it, so then I would go and read the actual articles, or I listened to the All In podcast, and they always have a science corner at the end of it, and they were talking. That's where I heard the El Nino part of it, and so I want to actually read off some of these places that I got some of this information, so I'm not making any of this stuff up. All right.
And instead just plagiarizing.
Well, World Bank data log, the ORF Middle East, which is a news outlet there. Zero Carbon Analytics was talking about the El Nino. The Fence Post was talking about Cargill CEO, which I couldn't find. Like, there wasn't that much stuff. You'd think New York Post or, someone, or maybe the Chicago Trade Board would be talking about CEO of Cargill, but I didn't see anything else.
I just think there's too much news to keep up with these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there always has been, but there really is so much news to keep up
and
with.
It's just so...
In every avenue of
there's
life.
more humans alive than ever. And the truth is, I don't know. I've got this friend, Chris. He's like hard to get a hold of on the phone. And he's like, I just don't want to be accessible to everybody all the time. Like that shouldn't be good. And I don't think I should know. It's not good for me to know all the news all the time.
My phone has rang 3 times since we started this podcast.
Mine rung twice. So there's a lot of input and output going on, but we really appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget, if you're looking to have some questions answered, we've had some plant identification questions on the forum. Check out the forum, theprairiefarm.com or hoxieNativeSeeds.com. You click the little our forum at the top. It makes you make an account. You don't have to pay anything. That's free. Just want to be clear.
We'll try and make it more easily accessible. We've heard and seen the feedback on that.
Yeah. Yep. We want you guys to be able to get the information as easily as possible, and we want the experts to be able to answer them, because by golly, we don't know all the answers on those. But we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again next time.